Okay, hi everybody. Sorry we had a snow day. That was, by the way, the class cancellation was a snow day, not because I was sick. I would have shown up even though I was sick, Lysoled myself, and stood in the corner and explained this to you, but the snow got in the way first. Okay, so hopefully you have printed all the documents that I asked you to print from the Compliance Plan Project page on Blackboard. The top 5 documents, the first 2 are blue, the second 3 are red. In case you are colorblind, which I've had happen, it's just the top 5 documents. Okay, the top document was called Compliance Plan Project Requirements. It looks like this. Whoops, sorry, there we go. Yeah, by the way, not so hot at this videotaping thing. So put a number 1 in the corner for that document. The number 2 document is the Compliance Plan Format document. It's the outline, the format that we have. It looks like this. I hope you can see that. Put a number 2 in the corner for that. Number 3 is all about the neurosurgery practice that you're going to be writing this compliance plan for. And it looks like that. Put a number 3 in the corner, please. Number 4 is the personnel sheet. Also, you will note at the top it has the actual name of the practice. So it looks like this. That's document number 4. And document number 5, when it comes off the printer, is a landscape document. And it is the Universal Physicians and PHO diagram. So you will understand how this practice fits into the overall big company of Universal Physicians LLC, and how Universal Physicians, or UP, fits into the PHO. And that's not that hard to understand. The diagram and the little explanation set that out for you quite clearly. Okay, going back to document number 1, the first thing I want you to note is that you do not work for this practice, for this neurosurgery practice, or for the parent company, UP LLC. You do not work for them. You work for an independent contracting company that has been brought in to write compliance plans and to do risk management, a private consulting firm. Don't care what you call it, you don't really need a name for it, but just know that you are an outside agent and doing this compliance plan for them. So you're looking at them from the outside in. So no we, no us, no, any of those types of inclusive terms. Okay, so the compliance plans are required under both the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, ARRA, and under the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. What these compliance plans are is it's a statement that any and all practices, not just medical practices, dental, chiropractic, podiatric, podiatry, feet doctors, all kinds of different kinds of practices, any kind of healthcare facility, nursing homes, long-term care, rehab, all that kind of stuff. Everyone has to have one by law. And if you accept any kind of federal funding in any way, whether it's for grants, whether it's through Medicare or Medicaid, whether it's through CHIP, or you're a PACE facility, or you accept TRICARE, or you're a VA-sponsored facility, anything like that. Any way that you may accept a federal dollar, you have to have a compliance plan. Now, the compliance plan, the Office of the Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services has put out the basics, okay? The absolute basics to put you in compliance with the law. Now, 99.9% of practices out there don't even know that they have to have this. All the hospitals have one. I haven't run across a hospital yet that doesn't have one. A lot of the big nursing facilities that are, part of conglomerates and that, they have them. It's the practices, the dental practices, the chiropractors, all those people who don't know that they have to have one. Now, the problem is that you're only going to be caught if you get caught, right? If you're caught committing fraud in some other way. So or you're investigated for it anyway. So, but you don't want to do that. What you want is to have this compliance plan, because the compliance plan will talk about, at its most basic, in the part that I've already given you, it talks about, this is how we prevent fraud. We comply with the law. We do not, break the law and submit false billings. We have an investigation plan. We have, an auditing plan. All of that has already been set out, okay? So really what the compliance plan is it's a mission statement kind of document that says, look, world, we comply with the law. Now, if you were being investigated or, God forbid, brought up on federal fraud charges or anything like that, then, of course, it would be a defense document, right? Why would we tell the world that we comply with all of these things and then we don't comply with them, right? Now, is it going to get you off? No. Is it, another weapon in your armory? Yes, it is. Well, from a risk management perspective, you can take that document and you can expand it to be able to use it in a million other kinds of defense situations. So you can use it for, an ADA. Somebody sues the hospital, the practice, the dental practice, whatever, for violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Well, one of the things you're going to bring up as a defense document is, excuse me, we have this detailed piece in our compliance plan that says we comply with the ADA. Same for HIPAA. We comply with all the HIPAA and high-tech regulations. Same for OSHA. Same for, FMLA, Family and Medical Leave Act. Same for the Labor Relations Act. All kinds of different laws can be put in here. All the licensing regulations. JCO or TJC, the Joint Commission, whichever you would like to refer to it as. You comply with all of the requirements for whatever the accreditation entity may be. You can put anything and everything in as long as it exactly relates to the practice. Now, this is a neurosurgery practice, which means it's a specialty practice. They don't do broken ankles and snotty noses and, twisted arms and guys who need Viagra, okay? They don't do that. You need to look at document number 3, prepared by the PHO's Marketing and Human Resources Department. So they are only looking at this practice and giving you an outline sketch based on what they know, which for your purposes is good enough. But you need to see what kind of practice this is and what they do there, what kind of patients that they see. You are going to create this risk plan. Now, are you going to write this? No, you literally do not have to write a single word. In the law is the biggest form of, and watch my air bunnies here, okay? The law is all about plagiarism to a certain extent. We don't reinvent what we already know works, okay? We can cite to it and we give proper attribution, but we just don't rewrite things and we don't need to paraphrase. As a matter of fact, we really don't like to paraphrase if we can get away with actually quoting something. So you're going to go through on Google. You have to have 0 research skills for this other than being able to use Google. And you're going to go out on the internet and you are going to pull up every kind of compliance plan you can find out there. There are a million for hospitals, okay? U of M's got a huge one, Sparrow's got, Spectrum's got one, Metro's got one. You can pull them up from all over the country. Johns Hopkins, any St. Mary's anywhere. Humana's got a huge one. Sinai Medical, pull them up. Everybody's got one. And the vast majority of them are online. And it doesn't have to be a compliance plan specifically for a neurosurgery practice. There's only a couple out there. They're very difficult to find. The point is that everyone has to comply with HIPAA and high-tech. Everyone has to comply with ADA. Everyone has to comply with labor laws. Everyone has to comply with OSHA. All those different kinds of things, licensing laws and, accreditation, all those things. So it doesn't matter where you steal the language from. But what you will have to do is tell me where you got it from. So if you steal 2 or 3 paragraphs or a whole page of HIPAA stuff, at the end of it, you need to write that you got it from St. Mary's, compliance plan on, in whatever year the compliance plan was. Okay, so it was the 2012 compliance plan, whatever. So that's it. It's about finding and stealing the language, okay? So I'm going to go through the rest of this with you here, hopefully reasonably quickly. Okay, so if I want you to read document number 1. Read the whole thing. Read all of it. Don't read some of it. Read all of it. Okay, now I'm going to hit some highlights for you. First of all, you are going to think about all the services and everything that this neurosurgery practice provides. I want you to go to document number 5 and look at how it fits in. There's a big company called Universal Physicians LLC. And in that big company, they have lots of little practices. They have a pediatric practice and a dermatology practice and an oncology practice and a pediatrics practice and family practice and orthopedics and cardiology and neurosurgery and yada, 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 okay? You are dealing solely with the neurosurgery practice. Universal Physicians LLC, as an entity all on its own, as a corporate type entity, will have its own compliance plan, okay? It will have its own compliance plan. So you are not doing one for Universal Physicians LLC. You are doing one for, and again, the name of the practice is on the top of page 4, Universal Physicians Neurosurgery Associates. That's the entity you are writing this compliance plan for or assembling, okay? Now, on the document, I want you to use the template that I've given you, okay? On there, it asks you to fill in a few blanks. You put in the medical practice. The very first blank on page 1, put in the whole name of the practice, and then in parentheses, you put UPNA, parentheses. Then for the rest of the template, anywhere you need to use the name of the medical practice, you can use UPNA. You will save yourself a ton of time, and you will save me a ton of time. So that's what's going in there, okay? So the, hang on a sec, hang on, I gotta blah, blah, blah. The template, okay, I already did that. All right, moving on. I have given you one compliance plan from, I believe it is from a St. Mary's, I don't remember which one, or a St. Joe's, one or the other. St. Joe's, now that I think about it. It's on Blackboard. In the compliance plan folder there, on that page, there is one that is there. So you can use that one. You can use it as one of your sources. You can steal whatever you want out of it, okay? But you're going to go out and you need to Google, and you're going to have to go through them. Now, do you have to read every single word of every compliance plan? No, you're going to scan. You're going to scan for things that aren't in the base template, which requires you to read the base template first, so you know what is already there and what is not there. What is in that template, if you look at number 2, the template itself, what is there are the 8 elements, the 8 required elements. And when they started out, you'll see in one of the PowerPoints it says 7, and then I just haven't updated it. It's 8 now. The 8 required elements of the compliance plan are listed out for you, okay? So what you're going to do is read all of that, and you're going to say, okay, all those types of things from medical necessity and standards of conduct and billing practices and retention of records and naming a compliance officer and all that kind of stuff. That's all taken care of for me. So I'm going to add other things that aren't there. And we'll get to that in a half a second here, all right? When you steal language, however, you have to look at how it's written. When you read the template, you'll see it is written in a declarative tone. This is what we do. We do not do, UPNA does things this way. UPNA complies. UPNA does not engage in illegal and fraudulent billing. UPNA complies with. It is a declared statement, okay? What you will see in some of the compliance plans is you will see it written in, and it's a very formal tone in the template. What you will see in some of the compliance plans is that some of them are written specifically for the employees themselves, okay? And so it's part of an employee handbook on top of everything else. So it will say, now, if you notice that something is irregular, you should contact your supervisor. Well, that's very informal, and it's directed at a very, very specific audience. So the declarative tone, however, is a declaration to the world, okay, in general. What you have to do is if you steal language, like I can tell you, University of Michigan's compliance plan is written that way. If you steal stuff from U of M's compliance plan, you have to change the tone of that language. So you can't say, well, contact your supervisor. It will say, you change it to say, if an employee encounters an irregular situation, employees are instructed to contact their immediate supervisors. Okay? It's a declarative statement to the world. And I want you to write it that way. I don't want it written to the employees or to patients or to, both of them. I want a very clear declarative tone, so that you have to do some editing. You don't have to write any words, really. You just have to do a little editing. The other thing you're going to see, especially if you steal things from hospitals, is you're going to see references to things that this neurosurgery practice wouldn't have. It isn't going to have a disciplinary committee. It isn't going to have a medical review board. It isn't going to have odd things like that. So take them out. In other words, you have to read the language that you steal. Okay? You have to look at it and you have to read it and say, oh, I have to take that out. Oh, okay, well, instead of reporting to the board of directors, well, then they need to report to the compliance officer or to UPNA's compliance officer, one or the other. So what you have to do is read and edit, and you're also going to have to decide where you are going to put this in the compliance plan. Now, you can, for example, if you look at your document number 2, if you come over to, let's see, anti-kickback on page 4, anti-kickback inducements. Perhaps you find some good language out of a compliance plan somewhere, additional language that is great about anti-kickbacks, about Stark Law compliance. Okay, you can tuck it right in under there, under element G. Okay, you can stick it right in there if you want. If you are not sure where something should go, like when you put in HIPAA and high-tech, you can put HIPAA and high-tech in, if you want, under H, which is on the H, retention of records, which is right below it. Or you can go to the end of the document and start a whole new thing. Start a whole new area that, not the complete end of the, well, yeah, I guess you could put it at the end. But you can start a whole new area that is just called HIPAA high-tech. If you add entirely new areas, please make a note of this. If you add entirely new areas, you have to go to the first page of the plan and change it from the 8 elements to however many you have. If you end up with 12, now you have 12 sections, okay? Then you have to change that to 12. I catch people on it all the time. There is not necessarily any completely right or wrong place to put things, unless you put something in, just that is just completely unrelated. You just literally dropped it into a random spot. Then I'm going to take points off for that. But it's pretty much, about just adding to this document and deciding what else should go in there. Okay, so you're going to use the APA format for all of your citations. You will cite what's called an in-text citation. You will put that citation in at the end of whatever language you have stolen and inserted, and then you will also do a proper APA citation for a proper reference page. And there are samples for all of that on Blackboard under the writing resources page. All the APA help you need is there. Now, if you wanted to write something of your own language, if you just desperately feel the need to do that, you can. You do not have to cite to yourself. Okay. Now, this is very important. This is very important. I'm on page 2 of the instruction document, which is document number 1. All language you add has to be in black type. It has to be in black type, okay? Leave the template in blue. It's coming to you in blue. When you open it up on your computer, it should be blue. I want all the stuff you add in black. That makes it extremely quick for me to look at what you've added and not have to read this entire 11-page template 28 times. I can just look at what you've added and where you've added it, and it just makes things tremendously quick for me. Now, where you have to fill in a blank on the template, fill that in black as well, because that makes it faster for me. Take out the lines. If you look at the compliance plan on page 1 on the template, the very first thing you have to do is fill in the name of the practice and then put that UPNA abbreviation in. Don't leave all those lines there like that. Take it out and make it look like a proper sentence. Don't make it look like you filled in blanks. Nobody wants to pay you to fill in blanks. You know what I mean? Make it look like a proper document, but anything anything you add onto this document that wasn't there when you opened it from me, that you have to, hold on a second. Somebody was reminding me of something on there. Apologize. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or if I just got extremely close to you. But nonetheless, you have to remove those lines and everything has to go in black type. Okay. You are to double space the entire thing. That you are opening that template and it is single spaced. Double space everything. Double space. I don't care. Put everything in single space, and before you hand it in, turn the whole thing into double space. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Write yourself a sticky note that says, last thing I do after I proofread it is to go back and double space the whole thing. Okay? And all of this is in your requirements, so you can that you can go back and make sure that you've done everything. What you add, excuse me, to this has to add up to 5 double-spaced pages of new material minimum. That's 2.5 pages of stolen material single-spaced. I'm telling you, the HIPAA stuff that you steal should give you 1.5 pages of that. So don't even whine that I'm asking you to add billions of pages to this, because you're not. A minimum of 5 pages, as long as you add in, you must include information on HIPAA and high-tech compliance, and at least 3 additional subjects of new information beyond HIPAA and high-tech. So I don't care if it's ADA, FMLA, OSHA, Joint Commission, Stroke Center Certification compliance, Medicaid compliance, Medicare compliance, TRICARE compliance. I don't care what it is. You'll find a million stinking things that are going up. Sorry about that. I thought the thing stopped recording. That are in these compliance plans that you can steal. Remember, these physicians work in this practice. They occasionally do work at the hospital, but they are not employees of the hospital, like we had in the orthopedics thing for MedMal. These people are privately employed by UPLLC, and they only work at the hospital. They do some of their work there, surgery, okay? So don't put in stuff from a hospital about a radiation department. Don't put in stuff about, x-rays and all that kind of stuff, because they don't have that here unless it says so in the neurosurgery outline. Okay, so right in the middle, there's a great big paragraph on page 2 of the requirements here, and I have given you all kinds of ideas of things to look for. EEOC, civil rights and diversity, community and public health laws, EMTALA compliance, anti-kickback, Safe Medical Devices Act. I mean, there's a whole FDA compliance. There's a whole pile of crap here. So you should be able to see all kinds of things in the compliance plans that you pull up from all over the country, and no shortage of things that should go in or could go in. I mean, you could make this a 300-page document. Please don't do that. But you could easily. Okay. Now, you can reference the requirements of specific statutes, like the licensing statutes you put in your MedMal project. But you can't copy in verbatim all the language of a statute. You can't do that. You can take out like a section, of a, like all records are required to be kept for 7 years, blah, blah, blah. You can take out a quote from the statute, but you can't just copy the whole statute and throw it in and go, woohoo, got 3 really long, good licensing statutes in there, I'm done. Nope. Sorry, I've already outthought you on that. You can, however, take out the good requirements of a statute and drop them in and then cite to that MCL number. Okay, remember that this is part of a bigger organization, and that organization, UPLLC, is part of a PHO, which is a physician hospital organization. If you don't really know what that is, Google it and find out, and then go and read document 5 and look at it. It's very short. The explanation is very short. It's a very simple concept. So look at that. Remember, I'm over on page 3 now. Remember that this, the hospital that is part of the PHO, to which UPLLC is a member, and of course the neurosurgery is part of UPLLC, that the hospital has accreditation standards for primary stroke center certification. So you could add in stuff from that. Go to the Joint Commission, primary stroke center certification, put that into Google, it'll pop right up, steal some stuff out of there if you want. Okay, so that's all part 1. right? Put this compliance plan together and make it read like all one document, like it was all written by the same person at the same time. And then there's a part 2. Okay, and then you put your reference page in at the end. Then there's a part 2. And I want this written as you. I'm not looking at grammar, although please don't sound like a completely illiterate fool at this point. And it will be on a page following the reference page. This is all in your instructions. It's on page 3. I want you to copy in these 3 questions that are there at the bullet points, and I want you to answer them. Now, I am not looking for an essay. I am not looking for even short, I'm certainly not looking for the Epistle to St. Paul. If you want to write the Epistle to St. Paul, you knock yourself right out. I will read it. But this is your chance to answer these questions. I am not grading it on what you write. I am not grading it on you kissing my butt. I am not grading on you telling me what I want to hear. As long as the information is there, you get credit for it. If you are missing part 2, well, you're going to take a pretty big hit because, again, this is all about compliance, right? This is writing a compliance document to be in compliance with the law and to show the world that you are in compliance, or this practice is in compliance with the law. So follow the stinking directions, all right? Jeff, I know you don't like that, but welcome to life, and welcome to life in healthcare, following directions. That's what it's all about. Okay, all of your the basic requirements are here. If you can't meet the basic requirements of the type, the font type, and the point type, and the margins and double spacing, well, again, I say, why is anybody giving you a master's degree if you can't do that basic thing? 12-point type, either Times New Roman or Arial font, whichever one you absolutely, need to use. I don't care, as long as the whole document is that way. Make this, you're working for a company that's being paid to do this. Okay, this is the product you are being paid to produce. So make it look like you're worth the money that you're going to charge these people to do this, all right? You're going to use proper APA format. You must have at least 7 different references. So all the crap that you find from other places, it has to come from at least 7 different compliance plans, or 5 compliance plans and the TJC accreditation and crap from the FDA, or whatever it is, whatever, combination of things. 7 new references minimum have to be on that reference page, and make sure that if you cited it in text in the body, that it makes it into the references, okay? Because I won't see it as plagiarism if it's at least cited in the text, but you'll lose points for it not making it into the references. And you can only put in the references, and no, it is not a works cited, no, it is not a bibliography, it is a references page. You could only put things in the references section that you actually used. So you can't say, well, this is all the crap that I pulled up, but I only used stuff out of 3 of it. Nope, they've got to match. If it's in text, it needs to be in references. If it's in references, it needs to be somewhere in the text, and you can only put the stuff that you used. Okay, let's see. The APA format reference page and cover page are in addition to the required pages of written material. So no, they do not come off your 5-page double-spaced requirement. Those are in addition. Both of those documents are available for you on Blackboard in Writing Resources. There's a sample cover page that you only have to edit, and there's a sample references page there, so so you can see what it should look like, and you can see where you would put in, say you put in a couple of MCL, references from Michigan compiled laws, then you can see again where to put those in, so you know what the references page should look like. You will submit it through the link on Blackboard, so I do not want any hard copies. And of course, as always, and you saw this worked out beautifully, send me a backup copy by email. Let's see, save your work, save your work, save your work, because when people say my computer or my printer ate it, it is the equivalent of saying the dog ate my homework. So, no, sorry, save it. Email it to yourself. Just keep emailing copies to yourself, and you'll be fine. The grading breakdown is on page 5 of the instructions, and let me see if there's anything else I can point out to you that I have not already pointed out. Oh yes, you have to choose a compliance officer. You are not going to have a compliance committee at this practice. you have to look at the personnel sheet, which is document 4. Looks like this. Document 4. You're going to have to go through and choose a compliance officer. Now, it needs to be, if you look at your compliance officer PowerPoint, it needs to be somebody who's in a stable position, so not somebody who, who's going to be there 6 months like the receptionist and possibly leave. It needs to be somebody in a management or supervisory position. It can either be an administrator or it can be a physician, but you want to pick somebody stable. So I would strongly suggest that you look at the practice manager, the clinical supervisor, or any of the surgeons or physician who are there. I wouldn't necessarily go with Perry Cox because he's a surgical fellow, which means that he's probably going to leave at the end of his fellowship and go to his own practice or go somewhere else. So I would choose between, and only choose one, I would look at Dr. Dorian, Dr. Turk, Dr. Reed, and Doug Murphy and Ben Sullivan, and any of them would be appropriate. Pick one, and that's who the compliance officer will be. We really don't have a compliance committee. This practice is too small to have that. If you need to make reference to a larger committee that needs to decide something, then it will be referenced to the compliance committee for UPLLC, the parent company. Okay? I cannot think of anything else that I need to tell you at the moment. I would review those PowerPoints and or read the chapters. Boy, reading the chapters would even be better before you start this. But even if you don't, I think that you get the idea. This is worth 40% of your grade. It is tremendously easier than the med-mal situation. Because you're making the decision about what goes in. Where before I made you follow directions and you put this in and don't put this in, you're going to make the decisions about what you think should be in there. Of course, neurosurgery practices and are sued a lot for malpractice. Not that they necessarily commit malpractice, but when you're doing brain surgery and spinal surgery and things like that, bad things happen to good people, and people can't accept that, and they sue the physicians and they sue the practice. So you might want to think about, some med-mal compliance where you state that, you are the practice is fully covered within, proper medical malpractice and liability insurance, something like that. Look for those types of things, okay? You don't have to put everything in. Put in what you think should be there, and don't go overboard. Don't go crazy. If you get to 10 pages of extra material, you've done a very, very good job. But you have to have 5, and I will take it out and stick it all over on a document. If I'm not sure and I think you've only got 3 extra pages in, I will literally block it and stick it into a document on my computer and add it all up. I will take out every black piece, put it all together, and see how many pages it is. So yes, I do have. Yes, I am that person who will do that. And I will read every word. I will find every time you missed the editing. I will find, and you left some stupid term in there or some word, or you didn't go back and change the voice in it to a declarative tone and a more formal tone. I will find all of them. So read carefully. I ask Emily. She's done this. I found every error that she had. She got an A, don't get me wrong, but I find them in every document. I will go through and find everything because I read every stinking word. Okay, now, if you have questions, email me, okay? And if you email Emily, copy it to me, because I'm going to make sure that I put all of the questions with the appropriate answers up on Blackboard so that other people can see them. It's as simple as it looks. Go out, find stuff, steal it, plug it in, cite it, make sure it's in black print, find more stuff, plug it in, put a reference page on it, and be done. That's really what it is. Make sure you got 7 sources. Make sure that you've got HIPAA, high-tech, and at least 3 other different areas that you are adding in, or at least substantial new language. And that you've got a minimum of 5 double-space pages of new stuff. Put part 2 in it. Don't forget part 2. And, yep, it's just that easy. It really is. But you're going to learn a lot. I guarantee you. You are going to see this whole course come to life in this project. The whole course is wrapped up in this project. It is just like putting it in a box and sticking a bow on it. Okay, hopefully that helps you. I'm going to try and get this up to YouTube. I've taken a tutorial on how to do it. And good luck. Email me if you need me. Okay, bye.